Hello, and welcome to Lyla's Lullabies, where we spend time exploring with Lyla, a traveler who wanders the world at her own pace while sharing her most enriching and restorative moments with you. In tonight's story, we'll follow Lyla as she explores the oceanside, Art Deco jewel that is Miami Beach. There's nowhere you need to be, nothing you need to remember. Just settle in, get comfortable, and let yourself go. We're so glad you're here. Whenever you're ready, let's begin. Lyla woke to sunlight streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows of her room at one hotel, and beyond the glass, the Atlantic Ocean stretched away in shades of turquoise and blue that seemed almost impossibly vibrant. January in Miami Beach meant escape from winter, a respite from cold and gray, and this morning delivered exactly that promise. Warmth and brightness and the sound of waves washing onto shore. She opened the sliding door to her balcony and stepped out, the warm air embracing her immediately. It was still early, not quite 8, but already the temperature was pleasant, that perfect Miami winter warmth that made the rest of the country envious. The breeze coming off the ocean carried salt and a hint of tropical flowers, and the sound of the waves was constant and soothing. Below, the beach was already active, early joggers following the hard-packed sand at the water's edge, a few people swimming, someone doing yoga on a mat facing the sunrise. Palm trees lined the beachfront, their fronds rustling in the breeze, and the boardwalk stretched north and south, a wooden path that connected the hotels and beach access points. Lyla, dressed in light summer clothes, a sundress and sandals, gathered her essentials into a small crossbody bag and went down to the hotel's restaurant for breakfast. The space was open and airy, with natural materials and plants everywhere, fitting the hotel's eco-conscious aesthetic. She ordered fresh fruit, yogurt with granola, and a green juice that tasted of cucumber and lime and something sweetly tropical. She ate on the terrace overlooking the beach, watching the morning activity increase, planning her day loosely, walk south along the beach path, explore the Art Deco district, find somewhere interesting for lunch, and end at South Pointe Park to watch the sunset and the cruise ships departing. No rush, no strict schedule, just a day of walking and looking and being present in this place where winter meant warmth and color. After breakfast, she walked down to the beach path, a wide boardwalk that ran along the shore, separated from the sand by a low dune planted with sea grapes and sea oats. The path was busy with morning exercisers, joggers and cyclists, people walking dogs, rollerbladers moving smoothly past. Everyone seemed relaxed and happy, smiling at each other, the mood infectious. The ocean was beautiful this morning, relatively calm, the waves rolling in with gentle regularity. The water close to shore was that distinctive Miami turquoise, clear enough to see the sandy bottom, deepening to darker blue further out. A few boats moved across the horizon, sailboats and fishing vessels, and closer in, a paddleboarder moved parallel to the shore, their paddle catching the light with each stroke. Lyla walked at an easy pace, enjoying the warmth on her skin, the breeze in her hair, the simple pleasure of being outside in January without a coat. The hotels rose to her left, each with its own character. Modern glass towers and Art Deco classics, luxury resorts and smaller boutique properties, all of them facing the ocean, maximizing the views. To her left, the beach stretched away, white sand dotted with umbrellas and chairs, lifeguard stands painted in bright colors, people already claiming their spots for the day. Children built sand castles, families spread out blankets, couples walked hand in hand at the water's edge. The scene was timeless and peaceful, the beach as democratic space, welcoming everyone. She passed several beach access points where paths cut through the dunes, and at one she decided to walk down to the water itself. She slipped off her sandals and carried them, walking on the sand that was warm on top but cool underneath, making her way to where the waves washed up. The water was cool but not cold, refreshing on her feet. She walked along the edge where the waves reached, the sand firm and easy to walk on, foam swirling around her ankles with each wave. Small shells had washed up, and she bent to examine a few, tiny coquinas in shades of pink and purple, fragments of sand dollars, smooth pieces of coral worn by the waves. A pelican flew past, low over the water, its wingspan impressive, its flight path steady and purposeful. Further out, she could see its companions diving for fish, folding their wings and plunging into the water, disappearing beneath the surface before emerging with their catch. After walking on the beach for a while, she returned to the boardwalk and continued south. The path was well maintained and beautifully landscaped, tropical plants creating pockets of shade and color. Bougainvillea cascaded over walls in magenta and orange. Palms of various species provided vertical interest. Royal palms, tall and stately. Coconut palms with their characteristic curve. Date palms full and lush. She passed Loomis Park, a strip of green between the boardwalk and Ocean Drive, where people were exercising in the outdoor gym equipment, doing pull-ups and dips, their bodies tanned and fit. Musicians were setting up for later, testing sound systems, the promise of music adding to the festive atmosphere. The Art Deco buildings of South Beach began to dominate now, those iconic structures from the 1930s and 40s that gave Miami Beach its distinctive character. Painted in pastels, mint green and flamingo pink, sky blue and soft yellow, with geometric details and porthole windows, neon signs, and terrazzo floors, they represented a particular moment in American design, streamlined and optimistic, looking toward the future with confidence. Lyla slowed to appreciate the architecture. Each building had its own personality, the Carlisle with its cylindrical tower, the Colony with its neon sign, the Delano with its clean white facade. Many had been restored to their original glory, their colors bright, their details crisp, maintaining the vision of their architects while accommodating modern hotel amenities. She decided it was time to cross over to Española Way for lunch. She left the beachfront and walked inland a few blocks, the neighborhood transitioning from resort to residential to commercial. The streets were quieter here, lined with shops and cafes, art galleries, and small hotels. Española Way appeared like a small piece of the Mediterranean transported to Miami, a narrow pedestrian street closed to cars, with buildings painted in shades of pink and terracotta, outdoor seating at restaurants, string lights hanging overhead, the whole thing designed in the 1920s to evoke a Spanish village. The street was charming and intimate, a contrast to the beach's openness. Restaurants offered various cuisines: Spanish tapas, Italian trattorias, French bistros, Latin American specialties. Lyla chose a Cuban restaurant with tables outside under umbrellas, the menu promising traditional dishes made fresh. She was seated at a small table where she could watch the street, and a waiter appeared almost immediately, friendly and efficient. "Good afternoon. Can I start you with something to drink?" "Could I have a cafecito and some water, please?" "Of course. Have you been here before?" "First time," Lyla said. "Wonderful. Let me know if you have any questions about the menu." "Everything is good, but the ropa vieja and the masitas de puerco are specialties." She studied the menu and decided on the masitas de puerco, fried pork chunks, with black beans, white rice, and maduros, the sweet fried plantains. The cafezado arrived, the traditional Cuban espresso in a small cup, sweet and strong, exactly what she needed. The food came beautifully presented, the pork crispy and tender, the beans creamy, the rice fluffy, the maduros caramelized and sweet. She ate slowly, savoring the flavors, watching people pass on the street. Tourists exploring, locals meeting for lunch, artists carrying portfolios, musicians with guitar cases. A street performer sat up near her table, a young woman with a violin, who began playing classical pieces with jazz inflections, her playing skilled and expressive. People stopped to listen, dropping bills in her open case, and the music added to the European village atmosphere, making Española Way feel like a small corner away from the larger city. After lunch, Lyla ordered a cortadito, a larger Cuban coffee with milk, and sat enjoying it, in no hurry to leave the pleasant street. The shade was welcome, the coffee delicious, and the people watching entertaining. Eventually, she paid and began walking back toward Ocean Drive, ready to explore the Art Deco district more thoroughly. The walk took her through the heart of South Beach, past art galleries showing contemporary work, vintage clothing stores, cafes advertising acai bowls and cold-pressed juice. The neighborhood, a mix of old glamour and modern wellness culture. Ocean Drive was busier than the boardwalk had been, cars cruising slowly, people sitting at outdoor cafe tables, the iconic street that had appeared in countless movies and photographs. Lyla walked along it, taking her time, stopping frequently to admire the buildings. The architecture was even more impressive up close. She could see the terrazzo details, the etched glass, the chrome railings, the rounded corners and horizontal speed lines that were hallmarks of the streamlined modern style. Many buildings had been meticulously restored, their paint fresh, their neon signs working, their original character preserved. She passed the famous Park Central Hotel with its distinctive tower and porthole windows, the breakwater with its bold vertical sign, the Avalon with its classic facade. Each one was a small masterpiece of design, built during an era when even modest hotels were designed with care and attention to detail. Some buildings housed museums or galleries now, and she stopped at one, the Art Deco Welcome Center, to look at exhibits about the district's history and preservation. The displays explained how these buildings had nearly been demolished in the 1970s, saved only by preservationists who recognized their value, and how the district had been revitalized in the decades since, becoming one of Miami Beach's greatest assets. She continued walking south, Ocean Drive gradually becoming quieter as she approached the tip of South Beach. The buildings here were a mix of residential and commercial, the energy different from the busier blocks further north, more relaxed, more neighborhood-focused. She reached South Pointe Park, the southern tip of Miami Beach, where the Atlantic Ocean met Government Cut, the channel that cruise ships used to access the port of Miami. The park was beautifully designed, winding paths through tropical landscaping, a playground for children, a restaurant with outdoor seating, and most importantly, a long pier that extended into the ocean, offering panoramic views. The afternoon was progressing toward evening now, the light beginning its transformation, and Lyla knew this was the perfect place to watch the sunset and the cruise ships departing for their journeys. She walked out onto the pier, joining others who had the same idea. The pier was substantial and comfortable, with benches and fishing areas stretching far enough into the ocean that you felt surrounded by water. On one side, the beach curved away, the Miami Beach skyline visible, buildings climbing into the sky. On the other side, the channel was busy with marine traffic, small boats, yachts, and the massive cruise ships that were the reason many people came to the pier. Lyla found a spot and settled in to watch. The sun was still above the horizon but lowering, the light becoming warmer, more golden. The ocean was beautiful in this light, the water shifting through shades of blue and green, the surface textured by the breeze, reflecting the changing sky. A cruise ship was approaching from the port, making its way toward the channel. Even from a distance, it was enormous, a floating city of white and blue, multiple decks rising above the water, thousands of passengers visible on the upper levels, waving to people on the pier. The ship moved slowly through the channel, careful navigation required in the relatively narrow space. Its horn sounded deep and resonant, and people on the pier waved back, the traditional farewell between those staying and those leaving. The ship passed remarkably close to the pier, close enough to see faces, to see the excitement of passengers beginning their vacation. Lyla watched it pass, marveling at the scale, imagining the adventures those passengers were beginning: Caribbean islands, foreign ports, days at sea. The ship's wake spread behind it, waves washing against the pier's supports, the water churned white. Another ship appeared, following the same route, and then another. The late afternoon was apparently the preferred departure time, ships heading out to catch the evening and overnight hours at sea. Each one was slightly different in design but equally impressive in size, each carrying thousands of people toward warm waters and tropical destinations. Between ships, Lyla watched the smaller boats, fishing vessels returning with their catch, sailboats heading out for an evening sail, speedboats cutting across the waves. The maritime traffic was constant and fascinating, Miami's position as a major port evident in the steady flow of vessels. The sun was lowering toward the horizon now, and the sky began its evening show. Colors appeared gradually, first a deepening of the blue, then hints of orange along the horizon, then pink and purple in the higher reaches. The clouds caught the light and glowed, creating layers of color, constantly shifting as the sun continued its descent. Other people on the pier were watching too, everyone drawn by the beauty, by the daily miracle of sunset. Families with children, couples leaning on the railing, solo visitors like herself, fishermen pausing in their activity to look, all united in appreciation. A final cruise ship was approaching, perfectly timed to pass during the sunset. It moved slowly through the channel, and as it did, the sun touched the horizon, creating a spectacular backdrop. The massive white ship silhouetted against the orange and pink sky, the water reflecting all the colors, the whole scene like something from a painting. The ship's horn sounded again, and this time it felt like a celebration, a salute to the day ending and the journey beginning. People on the pier cheered and waved, caught up in the romance of it, the idea of travel and adventure and the sea. The sun slipped below the horizon, and the colors intensified to their peak, brilliant oranges and deep pinks, purples and reds layering across the sky. The cruise ship continued its passage, eventually clearing the channel and heading out into open ocean, getting smaller against the vast expanse of water and sky. The light began to soften, the colors fading to pastels, the day transitioning to twilight. The sky remained luminous for a long time, that prolonged Florida sunset that seemed to last forever, the atmosphere holding the light even as the sun disappeared. Lyla remained on the pier, not ready to leave yet. Other people began to drift away, heading home or to dinner, but she stayed, watching the final phases of the sunset, seeing the first stars appear, feeling the temperature drop slightly as evening settled. The ocean was darker now, but still beautiful, the waves visible in the dimming light, the sound of them constant and soothing. The breeze picked up slightly, coming off the water, carrying the scent of salt and distance, of places beyond the horizon. The lights of Miami Beach began to dominate now that natural light was fading. The buildings along the beach glowed, their Art Deco neon signs coming to life, creating a different kind of beauty, urban and electric, the city transforming from its day self to its night self. She could see Ocean Drive from here, the lights of restaurants and hotels creating a ribbon of illumination along the coast. The cars moving along it had their headlights on now, creating streams of light. Music drifted across the water, faint but present, the sound of the city's nightlife beginning. Eventually, Lyla walked back along the pier toward land, her shadow long in the streetlights, the day feeling complete. She'd walked from north to south along Miami Beach, experienced its different facets, the natural beauty of the beach and ocean, the architectural heritage of the Art Deco district, the cultural blend of Cuban Miami, the maritime energy of the port. She walked through South Pointe Park, following paths that wound through palms and sea grapes, past the restaurant where outdoor tables were filling with dinner guests, past the playground where a few families were still enjoying the mild evening. The park was peaceful, a green oasis at the tip of the island, offering respite and recreation, connecting people to the ocean and each other. Back on Ocean Drive, the evening energy was building. Music spilled from bars and clubs. People strolled along the sidewalk. Outdoor restaurant tables were full, the street transforming into the entertainment destination it had been designed to be. But Lyla felt content with her quiet day, not drawn to the nightlife but satisfied with what she'd experienced. She walked slowly back north, retracing her route but seeing it all differently in the evening light. The Art Deco buildings were gorgeous, with their neon signs illuminated. The colony's vertical tower lit in pink and blue, the breakwater's name spelled out in cursive script, the park's central sign glowing in classic Art Deco font. Each sign was a work of art, designed with care, adding to the street's unique character. She stopped at a small cafe, not ready for a full dinner but wanting something light. She ordered a fresh fruit smoothie, mango and papaya, guava and lime, and sat at a table on the sidewalk, watching the evening activity. The smoothie was cold and sweet, tropical and refreshing, tasting of Miami's abundance. She drank it slowly, feeling happy and calm, grateful for the day. January in Miami Beach had delivered everything she could have hoped for: warmth and beauty, interesting architecture and natural splendor, the ocean and the sunset, the simple pleasure of walking in sunshine. A woman at the next table was sketching, her pad balanced on her knees, capturing the street scene in quick, confident strokes. Two men were discussing art, their conversation passionate and informed, debating some question of technique or interpretation. The cafe's energy was creative and relaxed, typical of Miami Beach, where art and leisure intertwined, where people came to escape and create, to relax and be inspired. When Lyla finished her smoothie, she continued her walk back toward one hotel, taking a route that led her along residential streets for variety, seeing how locals lived among the tourist areas. The houses and small apartment buildings were charming, many painted in bright colors, with tropical gardens and outdoor living spaces, designed to maximize the climate and the indoor-outdoor lifestyle it permitted. She passed a small park where a group was playing volleyball under lights, their game spirited and fun, calls and laughter carrying through the warm evening. She passed a yoga studio where a class was ending, people emerging peaceful and centered, carrying their mats rolled under their arms. The neighborhood felt welcoming and lived in, not just a tourist destination but a real community where people made their lives, raised families, pursued careers and passions, all of it happening in this place where January meant beaches and palm trees instead of snow and cold. Back at one hotel, she went up to her room and immediately opened the balcony door, wanting to let in the evening air, to hear the ocean, to maintain the connection to outside. The sound of the waves was constant and comforting, a natural rhythm that transcended human time, that had continued for millions of years and would continue for millions more. She stood on the balcony, Looking out at the ocean and the beach below, now mostly empty, the lifeguard stands closed, the umbrellas taken down, the sand smooth and undisturbed. A few people walked along the water's edge, their figures small against the vast expanse of beach and sea. The moon was rising nearly full, creating a path of silver light across the water. Stars were visible despite the city lights, the sky clear and deep. The breeze was gentle and warm, carrying the scent of ocean and tropical flowers, the perfect temperature for standing outside in just a light dress, no jacket needed, even in what was technically winter. Lyla thought about the day, about the journey from north to south along the beach, the architecture and the food, the cruise ships and the sunset, the constant presence of the ocean. Miami Beach had a particular energy, she decided, a combination of relaxation and vitality, natural beauty and human creativity, diverse cultures blending into something uniquely itself. The city knew how to celebrate beauty and pleasure, knew how to design spaces for both tourism and daily life, knew how to preserve history while remaining contemporary. The Art Deco buildings were testament to that, structures from the past, maintained and valued, integrated into modern Miami, rather than bulldozed for new development. She remained on the balcony as the evening deepened, watching the moon rise higher, listening to the waves. She felt the warm breeze, grateful for this winter respite, this day of sunshine and ocean and architecture. The walking and watching and being present in a place where winter meant warmth, where January brought flowers instead of snow. Here, the ocean met the sky in shades of turquoise and blue that seemed almost impossibly beautiful, but were simply Miami Beach being itself, generous and welcoming, offering its gifts to anyone willing to walk its beaches and its streets with an open mind and a joyful heart.